Yeah, episodic television. You say that you feel like you've evolved a little on that, and I will say I'm surprised because I didn't necessarily realize your bias, or maybe I just forgot because it's been a while since we covered some TV stuff that wasn't Avatar.
I think you've forgotten. In fact, when you do your like, I don't know if you've been doing any. I'll ask you this: have you been listening to any of our previous episodes?
No, no, I haven't.
Okay, that's no, that's fine. I just it just came to my mind. I was like, oh wait, hang on, you haven't done this in a while, or we haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, I've been in a massive flurry of editing. At this point, we almost have no bonus episodes left in storage. So,
Oh, looks like we're gonna have to make a few new ones up, eh?
yeah, even the ones that we recorded recently, I we did some at the start of February, and we did another one with Eric, and then I did another one with Eric, and I've already got them all edited.
Oh, nice.
So I just, yeah, I've not been listening for fun, just for editing, sadly.
You haven't released Ultraman yet, though, have you? I know you. I saw him. I saw you released him on YouTube, but I don't know if you released him on Podbean yet, or just podcast or whatever it is.
And no, I most definitely have not, and it's not going to be coming out until sometime in April.
Noted. Okay. Poignant.
By the way, just sorry, this is still a little bit of a side trail.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, did you see that WWE one that I put out? Did you ever look at that? I meant to ask you if you were interested.
Well, I saw it. I didn't watch it because I mean, like, can I just go back and listen to the one we did on the pod on Podbean or no?
You could, but in this new one, I did add all the footage I shot from that night into the video, spliced throughout.
Oh, what? I forgot about that. Okay, no, now I'm gonna go watch it. Okay, thanks. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know how well I did. I'm not particularly good at video editing, but I did try to, whenever we brought up a certain match, I would splice in bits of footage of that match.
You filmed that? Wait,
So,
when?
yeah, when we were watching the matches, I would always take little clips, like maybe like 20, 30 seconds of video.
Oh shoot. Okay.
I didn't catch all of them,
No,
sadly, but I did.
that's fine. I guess that's how like clueless I was because I was, or how focused I was on the match. I didn't even like
Yeah,
turn. I turned to you every time you had your camera like off,
yeah,
or yeah,
maybe.
your phone out. Excuse me.
Yeah, and I wasn't even planning to use it for anything. It was just like, oh, I actually have all this sitting here. Maybe I'll just splice it in.
Yeah, might as well. No, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I'll give it a watch. Did you do anything with any interesting stuff with the Ultraman one, like images from like the movie? If we don't get copyrighted.
No. Yeah, I was worried about that. And we actually did get a copyright claim on the WWE one, but I saw that they were fine with having the Roman Reigns theme. That's what got it.
Oh, okay, interesting. I thought you would have muted all that stuff, but I guess yeah, fair because they're notorious. Like once again, they're one of the other companies that are notorious for like making sure that like their footage, I guess, isn't like on YouTube by somebody else other than them.
Yeah, I did mute the majority of it, but a couple times where it seemed fitting, I left in the audio.
Fair enough.
Oh, but where were we? Uh,
Oh yeah, sorry. Episodic television. Episodic
oh
television.
yes, yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, large amount of DC animated universe by Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, and company. Um, that's all serialized.
Mm.
Albeit there is some like continuations and follow ups with like and not a plots, but like maybe some stuff happening in the background. I think it isn't until Unlimited where it like starts getting more, like is it serialized television or is it episode? No, because episodic is one and done, but serialized is continuation, right?
Yeah, that's where it gets confusing because the modern usages are different. Because the serialized format back in the day could mean either like one serial, like one series that's a continuing story that's just episode after episode all connected,
Yep.
or you get things like Doctor Who, which is a mix of serial and episodic because one season would have like four serials. Each serial is its own distinct thing, but they would be like 4 episodes long, and then the next one would start with almost no continuation from the previous serial,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but now when they say serialized television, yeah, they mean a show with just one long arc running throughout the whole thing.
Yes, for instance, there's Star Trek, the original series, and then for like episodic, and then for
Yeah.
serialized in our modern sense, I guess you could say Breaking Bad, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. I think those are three examples. Obviously, it is more, but those are three, like, I guess, pop culture examples and ones that are in the zeitgeist that people understand.
Yep. And it gets more confusing because modern Doctor Who is technically a mix of episodic and serialized, because most of the season is comprised of individual episodes that only very loosely tie into like character building, and occasionally they'll throw in like a buzz phrase like bad wolf, and they'll be like, wait, bad wolf, that popped up somewhere else, what does that mean? And then at the very end of the show, that'll be the big plot at the end. I think that's terrible serialized writing, by the way. Buzz phrases is not story building. But sorry, don't get me started on Doctor.
Trust me. One day we'll be visiting Doctor Who, but the old stuff, the good stuff, don't worry. And you can actually praise it. So Avatar, using Avatar as an example, there's like that's serialized, but there's also episodic stuff, as in filler. So that's what episodic means, filler. Got it. So this means that Star Trek, the original series, is all filler. Got it. Skip.
Yeah, and it does have those. That's kind of the confusing thing with the serialized format. Is when they do include just fun one-off episodes, people do call them filler and kind of discount them. But I don't think there's any less value in just a fun one-off episode like that.
Yeah, I jest. In fact, one of my, like, I think this is a standard for everybody, but one like a Japanese animated TV show I love is Cowboy Bebop. No surprise there. And that pretty much, like, save for, like, let's see, episode 1, I think it's 5 or 6. I think it might be 5. Oh no, that's when Faye was introduced. 6, 13, and then like 23 and 24, so 25 and 26. So like there's only 5 episodes that actually like continue the entire story, and the rest are all just like standalone episodes, like serialized, and somehow it works for me. I don't know what it is. And you can definitely hound me when we do that on the other channel eventually, because somehow that works for me. And I don't know, somehow I don't know why it bothers me with like comic book characters. It's weird.
Yeah, and I've always been a big advocate for returning to the episodic television, because I feel like in especially the modern era, it's almost solely reserved for like long-running cartoon shows, like comedies, and that's about it. I mean, sitcoms are almost all episodic.
Yep.
But drama, sci-fi, all of it's just been completely devoured by serialized television. I think it's kind of killed casual viewing to some extent for those kind of programs.
Yeah, you're right, because you said this best. You say it again. Like, why is it what do you think the pros to episodic television are?
Well, I like the element of a fresh start. We come into an episode and it's just kind of okay. I don't have to worry about this long running arc, and especially with, again, something like New Doctor Who, where the majority of their series long arcs are just god awful. And when I watch episodes that tie into them, it leaves a sour taste, because I'm like, I just want to watch this fun episode. I don't want to think about all that baggage, just terrible stuff. Just give me the fun episode.
Good word. Good use of the word.
And so, yeah, that's, when I go back and I watch an episode of TNG, most of those episodes are just kind of one-off so you can enjoy. And I also think when they do tie in, like when there's a character thing, like Captain Picard with his Locutus Aboard thing, that only came up like maybe 2 or 3 times after that. And when it did come up, it was more rewarding, because it was like, oh, interesting. We're building on his character more. It's not like this big plot that it's just been building over and over again, which can be kind of bog you down a little bit. What's the program? Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They had this plot with this little daughter, kind of like a hidden secret plot. I'm not going to spoil too much about it. But whenever it would pop up, it'd be kind of like, I don't really want to be here for this. I kind of want to just be in the episode. I don't really want this emotional touch point that keeps popping up over and over again. It's just it starts to lose effect after a while. It's like, okay, when are we just gonna end this part of the plot? So I like a fresh start, a clean slate of just we have our baseline element that's what the show is, and then each new episode is more of a story driven piece that the characters are just a vehicle to move us through. That's what I love about classic Doctor Who. Every time it was a fresh start, a new planet, new group of characters, new story. The only thing constant is our vehicle characters, the Doctor and his companion, arriving to carry us through this plot. I love that format.
So it's largely story over character, eh?
Yeah, and maybe I am someone who prefers more story driven than character stuff. That could be true.
That's so strange. That is so weird for you to say that. Given that sometimes you like character drama. Good character drama, albeit, excuse me.
Yeah, and I'm a different beast when it comes to television. In general, I'm not a huge fan of television. I find the long running story arcs, even though sometimes they can be much more fulfilling, I find them too much cost of entry. Like, I don't necessarily want to sit down for, in order to get the story, I have to sit down and watch 10 hours of television. That's a long time, and I'd rather, if I want to get a really strong character drama, I'd rather just sit down for like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour long movie and just keep kind of digging up the same stuff over and over again for a 10-hour TV show.
You're onto something. You're hitting it right there. I think that's it right there, is know the medium.
Yeah.
The art form itself. I like what you're saying. This is good. Okay. So so episodic characters could just basically like, okay, maybe I'm going a little too wild with this, but like they could do something. I think they could do something, and at the end of the episode, it's basically just forgotten, and we continue on to the next episode. How do you have to structure that so that like there's no consequences? That's like basically consequence free by the end of the episode, right? Because that can't carry through over to the next episode, right? So that's the hard part with episodic television is that like how do you not make? Could somebody at the end of an episode be morally reprehensible, and then bam, status like just goes back to the status quo?
Yeah, that's where subtle consistency comes in to effect.
Okay.
Where I feel like things should more inform performance rather than like overall character drama. TNG, for instance, would always do these fun little like spotlight episodes. Okay, here's Geordi. He's having some problems with dating girls. He's got this confidence issue. And we're just going to take this episode to explore that. And then at the end, Geordi's got this little bit of confidence built into him again. And that's something that you don't really need to pick up on all that often. And when you do pick up on it again, it's more just performance to kind of, he's more elevated in that way. So I think just attention to detail is what you need for that kind of stuff, but not going too far where it's a dramatic character change, unless that's an arc that you can resolve either the episode that it's in or a few episodes, like, like a 3-parter or something.
Okay.
But always try to get back to a template that's easy to follow and easy to replicate going forward.
Interesting. So status quo is a good thing in episodic television. You can't break the status quo. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, that's very important.
Okay, given that some people hate status quo.
Yes, and there's a reason why episodic television has effectively died. I think a lot of people don't like it.
Yes.
I disagree. I think, and I feel like people don't realize the fact that a lot of TV stuff just doesn't have the same staying power as it used to. When we would have that template that was reliable, that you could tune into almost any episode of TNG and know where you're at. Something like Lost. If you watch like the first 3 seasons and you're like, oh, I heard the show's ending, I'm going to tune in for the last few episodes, see how it goes. Oh, you'd be completely lost. And that happened to me with BSG. I watched the first 2 seasons when they were on, and I kind of fell off during the 3rd one. And I tuned in again at the end, and I was just like, holy fuck, everything's so different. I have no clue what's going on. And I was just so perplexed, and I watched the finale, and I was just like, I don't feel any resonance. I didn't feel any resonance at all. It was just complete confusion. And you could argue maybe that's, like, maybe I'm just from an older model, and going through that kind of long-term journey with characters on a serialized basis is much more enriching. That could very well be. Most of the really long-running shows, I didn't stick with them all the way to the end. I just I'm not a big TV guy. I always fall off. So having an easy to follow template that I can always jump into, I find a much more digestible experience for me.
Yes, hence comic books. Or at least,
Hmm.
maybe depends on the modern comic book now, but like, yeah, early comics, that was literally all it was. It wasn't always just story arcs. But my friend, do you think like comic books are also a good place to um do continuous, or yeah, serialized storytelling?
Serialized, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Well, actually, you can do both. I think it lends itself to both, eh?
It does. It lends itself to a good mix because you
Okay.
can do subtle building in the background, building up to a big arc, and then you kind of go back down and start doing building again, but still
Or
having the episodic stuff in the kind of meantime.
correct. Or you can do instead, you can be the writer of a serialized, so you can have your own run on Batman and do, episodic. And then if you wanted to do like a graphic novel or like a mini series or a limited series, whatever they're called, that's outside the continuity, that tells like a dramatic story of some sort that like does kind of change the character, but is separate from the continuity. You can do that too.
Hmm.
That is pretty interesting. With comics, I mean, that's a nice meme. I mean, I think the Japanese have also figured that out. And for pit's sakes, heavy metal is just like episodic, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like the magazine.
Yep, the magazine. Sorry, heavy metal. The heavy maron, excuse me, as it is in French.
Yeah, that's even more so. It's basically an anthology book because every magazine would be filled with multiple stories, and the majority of them wouldn't be followed up upon later. They're just kind of one-off pieces.
So it is weird though, like my joke earlier about like attention spans being low right now, currently in our day. It is weird how people can invest themselves in serialized television, not episodic. That's so weird, isn't it? Like it seems it wouldn't like one shouldn't fit with the other.
Yeah, and the thing is I don't know who's driving the market to change it that way. I don't know if it's creators themselves, writers wanting to be. I think maybe the low episode count makes them want to have a more focused lens for their stories.
I guess so.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know why the model's changed the way it has, but I will give another knock to serialized television. For instance, me and Brianna watched the show Lock and Key on Netflix. We watched the first season when it aired, then we tuned in for the second and third. And by the time we got to the fourth, when it finally came back, I was like, I kind of don't really remember what happened in season 1 and 2. And they gave a little bit of a package, like, okay, here's the recap for the whole series. But with a show like that, I mean, I feel like if you're not waiting until the show's done and then watching all the episodes, you're not really going to get the same effect that the creators want you to have, because so many of the details, vital details, have kind of been lost in the weeds a little bit. And they always try with their recaps if they're like, okay, here's the important bits that you need to remember. But just kind of being like, oh yeah, I have a vague memory of that happening, isn't going to really give you the resonance that you need. So I feel like that's another knock to very strict serialized television is if you have a long running series, it's going to be hard for people to really keep up with everything, at least for me. I know there's some folks who will be like, oh, my new favorite show is coming out. I'm just going to binge watch the whole series to watch this finale. I just don't have time for that or the bandwidth of energy to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I know where you're going with that. So, like, yeah, if a limited series, so if Castlevania, we'll just use that as an example. Castlevania comes out and it's done, episode by episode. So Netflix releases it each week, like television should be done. But instead, there's person A who will watch it like in bits, like they will watch, each episode each week, and then you have me who will just like binge the whole thing at the very end. This is similar to comics.
Hmm.
If you have a serialized run, you could keep buying those individual comics, or you could then just wait for them to bring out the graphic novel.
Hmm.
Now, like, there's a difference because in television, like, I mean, you could record them legally or illegally, or you can watch them online all at once. But if you were being legit, if you were actually like, you could either like buy the TV show like when it gets released, or like I said, you buy the graphic novel. So I don't know. It is interesting where you can then watch like on the release on the home video release, excuse me, you can then like watch the whole thing at your leisure, not episode by episode, but like in like a binge it or whatever. Whereas yeah, with comics, the problem is that with comics and of graphic novels that you're going to pay for each individual issue, then you're going to buy the graphic novel, which is itself
Yeah.
a sum total. So like television has it a little bit better in that sense because you're not. I mean, unless you're watching it online, then yeah, you're paying for. Then it's the same thing. Never mind, because then you're paying for like 99 cents per episode, and the season comes out, and it's like $20. So, okay,
But to turn the mic around to you, because I
yes,
feel like you're more on the serialized television style. Yeah. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts there?
thank you. You're convincing me. I think you're right. I think it comes down to the writing. I think it comes down to how like smart you can with the writing. Because Twilight Zone, man, what
Mm.
a good, what a great episodic piece of television. I never want. There's actually there. I think there is like one or two recurring episodes where it's. Do you remember the mannequin or puppet? Yeah, the yeah the man no, not mannequin. Ventriloquist. Do you ever? I don't know if you watched the show. This is the we're talking about the '60s like Rod Stewart one, not the '80s, not the Jordan Peele version. But there's a ventriloquist dummy who showed up in one episode and then later shows up like either like a season or two later.
Oh,
So that's kind of like one where the character comes back, but he's in like a different situation.
no, that's cool. No, I've never seen those two. I don't think.
Okay. But I would highly, yeah. I don't know what it is about like with the Twilight Zone or with like Perry Mason. Like, well, okay, first off, Perry Mason is not based. Like, do not ever think that's how a courtroom drama is going to be. But man, is it a good like drama itself and good. It's good theater as well in a way. Back when the line between theater and television was blurred, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoy that stuff too. Yeah.
I would certainly want to go like every time like Perry Mason comes on the old timers channel. Sorry, but the classics channel. I always watch it. It's just so much fun to watch. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the performances as well. Maybe some people. No, I was gonna say maybe some people just don't buy acting anymore. But then why do we have Oscars? why is like media still around?
Yeah, and to be fair, the style of acting is much different back then. Especially on television, there was a lot less emphasis on naturalism, and it was more like theatrical acting. So I think people's tastes have just shifted a little bit.
Yeah, the whole like realism aspect is got postmodernism. Good grief.
Well, like
Gen X.
I commented because I started watching the HBO Perry Mason, which I've fallen off of pretty dramatically. But watching it gave me. I thought it was really interesting because it felt very distinctly not from our times, but it also felt like this isn't the shade of humanity that I would see in those old kind of. I was gonna say period dramas, but they weren't period at the time. They were just from that time.
Yeah.
But really quality acting in that Perry Mason show, but very different style compared to what you would have gotten back then.
The HBO series. Sorry, we just like
Yeah, HBO series.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so it's all about preferences, and I am happy to jump between the two. I really like naturalism, but I can also really get into that more stagey element. So
Yeah, I also like the theatrical a little more sometimes. Now that I think about it, I think it's just how it's done and like yeah, it's who's in charge and who's like running the whole operation, I'd say, and what the motive is.
yeah, there's something like a different reality of the stagey acting. Like it almost the more heightened element of it makes it feel. I don't know. It's difficult to explain. There's like a certain magic to it that sucks you in a different way. Whereas, for example, the new Perry Mason, oh boy, it's very dark. Has some very strong, like emotional scenes that just hit hard, and that's good for what it is. But that's creating a different kind of illusion for the audience. A different kind of reality that I sometimes don't want to experience. Right before I watched the Perry Mason show, I watched this show called The Night Of, starring Riz Ahmed. Brilliant show. John Turturro's in it. Fantastic performance. his best work I've ever seen him do. But boy, it is a painful show. It's almost every episode. It was just making me feel like I just wanted to get squished into a ball. It's like, oh fuck, I can't. But when I got to the last episode, I waited about a week to watch it because I was like, I don't think I can experience more of this show. That's I don't know. Is that entertainment? I don't. It's just different worlds.
Yeah, it goes to the whole escapism argument as well of like, and that's what the theater is like trying to kind of escape. Well, depends, I guess.
Yeah.
Does every show have to be heavy with real world influence? No, that is not inherently a bad thing. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
can we have that, or can we divorce ourselves from this and make a fantasy if it's not in the if the intent is not to offend anybody, or is there just to escape from reality as temporary? Excuse me. We're not trying to like live in a fantasy world. That's the wrong idea I'm coming across.
Yeah.
But you need to have, obviously you need to be a realistic person. I get that, but you also need an escape. Like you need a form of escape from the deluge of life. All right, life is messy. It can get bogged down. We've got a lot of heavy stuff out there. I'm not denying any of that, but I'm not trying. I sound like Walt Disney, like, let's go to Disneyland. That's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, if that's the way to do it, like, fair enough. But like, I just mean like, there's a reason art exists, that we've created art. It's a form of escapism in our like day and age from this capitalist nightmare that we're all trapped in. Even though, capitalists control the arts. So like, they're telling you to like feel, so the capitalists are, so you'll continually like fund this art that the capitalists want. I don't freaking know. I'm sorry if I'm like if I'm a mess right now, a jigsaw puzzle, but like what I'm basically getting at is like, yes, there should be media that does depict the heavy stuff in allegories, or just hits you over the head and makes you want to commit suicide. I don't know, but like, I still vouch for the idea of escapist reality. Like, that's what animation's for, because animation is fantasy in a way. Like, it's not real. Like, it's very heightened. It looks exciting. That's why we like theater as well. It's exaggerated. It's just fun. Like, that's what we want to do. And you're right in a way that episodic television can make you do that. Perhaps for me, I have just not gone out of my way to find ones that make me feel alive in that sense and make me feel like I want to see this next episode, even though it has nothing to do with the previous one.
Yeah, that's also one of the great things about Columbo. Is Columbo is similar to Doctor Who. He's the vehicle that carries us through that series. There's almost no other continuing characters except for like little bit cops that we'll see for a few episodes here or there. But really, he's the centerpiece, and we just use him to enter all these different worlds. And I think that's really cool. And even if you get to one where you're like, oh, this seems very different from the usual format, like this almost makes me uncomfortable that it's so different, there's still that comfort of your friend Columbo that you spent so much time with, kind of guiding you through. So I think that is the ultimate value of having that kind of format for television. It's almost like a comfort element, having that familiarity with the format.
Yeah, and like when you said like familiar characters, like his entourage, almost like you got your recurring characters basically. Like I think that's standard in episodic television. Like you'll see that in like TOS or I guess Seinfeld.
Yeah, different in Columbo in the sense that there's very few, and most of them are incredibly minor. They'll come with him on a case and hear their name every now and again thrown out, but almost no one is a recurring character except for Columbo and his dog, really.
And I guess his car.
Yeah, in his car. Yeah, and in his brown paper bag.
Yeah. And his cigar. Or I guess it's a different cigar every time, but still it's a cigar.
Yeah, and again, the true value of a show like Doctor Who, which I think is almost completely unique, is the fact that we explore so many different interesting worlds. And the only real recurring factor is the fact that the Doctor is going to it. Some of them will just be completely strange and out of nowhere. A couple of them get like incredibly surreal and just like, what the hell is going on? Like, how did we get here? This is Doctor Who. but we still have that comfort factor of the doctors there to kind of give us exposition and explain like what the hell is going on. And so I don't know, I think there's an element of the serialized format that kind of leaves you stuck in a place. Or if you have this story that's ongoing, I don't feel like you can get so many random elements just tossed at you in that way. And there's not that element of each week going in, not having any clue what you're going to get, like you would get with classic Star Trek as well. So I feel like that kind of box of chocolates excitement that those old shows presented isn't really around necessarily as much anymore. Strange New Worlds tried to do that, and I think they had some fun experiments in that way. But across the TV landscape, I feel like that's missing a little bit. But maybe an anime. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of anime.
That's fair. Did you say did I say or mention like the writing aspect of like I feel like writing episodic television's harder?
No, you didn't. That could be. It could be.
Like, yeah, especially given the format. If we're talking like if we're talking, especially like I think depending on like the culture, that also depends. Like I don't know how long it like with British television, like how long the series of Doctor Who. Yes, I said it. The series were, and I mean old Who, by the way.
Oh, well, it depends what eras. In the 60s, the seasons could be like upwards like 40 episodes with maybe like 6 or 7 different serials. So and then going forward it started to slim down. I think by the end they only had 4 serials per season, and those were anywhere from 4 to 3 episodes. So that's not too long.
I would ask how many like of them were duds, but at the same time that's subjective. So there's not a clear answer.
It is subjective, and Doctor Who fandom is highly divided, especially by those last years.
Again, all fandoms are toxic. No one is greater than the other.
Yeah, don't forget I'm the weirdo, according to Eric, who loves almost all of classic Doctor Who and doesn't like most of new Doctor Who. So I feel like I'm not the right lens for, because the Seventh Doctor, one of the most hated Doctors, is my second favorite Doctor. So I feel like I'm just in a different realm than most of the Doctor Who fans.
And unfortunately, his opinions are bleeding into me. So like because he's my only source next to like Eric and Sean, he's my only source to Doctor Who. Like I kind of believe him because who else am I? Like I don't go out of my way to look at this stuff. I don't even know where to start. So I just go. But again, I have a reverence for the old stuff as well. So like, or for like 60s television. Like I said, the Twilight Zone, Perry Mason. So like, yeah, I kind of like probably would enjoy Doctor Who a lot. Sorry, TOS as well. Star Trek TOS. I forgot to mention that. TNG. It's never on though. I really wonder when like the classic channel TV station is gonna play TNG. Like I feel like it's gotten to that moment, right? Like I feel like come on, if they're playing the A-Team, which is set in the 80s, which is also a really good episodic show, even if it is over the top, and like MacGyver, I don't know if they play MacGyver or not. They should be playing TNG. Maybe they just can't get the rights. That's another thing.
Could be. It's all over streaming now. Netflix and Crave has it.
I guess it is never mind.
Yeah, so.
Ignorance.
Oh, but do we have anywhere else to go before we kind of wind this down to our next project there?
Well, I will say at least this maybe on. I'll say, okay, I'm going to set the record straight. I never get annoyed with him. I'm going to call Sean and Eric out. Like, sorry, Isaac, like we're going to talk about that. That's fine. That's fine. We talk about Star Wars so often. Like, I think I can forgive you guys bringing up Doctor Who. Like, I don't get bogged down by it, even though it's the same thing. Caleb hates New Who, and yeah, and this is what Eric thinks about New Who, and blah blah blah.
I know. I wouldn't say hate. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. Strongly dislike. I know. I got a little hyperbolic there. I got in the moment. I meant to say hyperbolic. It's like I can't say I don't care. It's I care little for this. That's the appropriate response.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair.
You care little for Doctor Who, yet what I'm fascinated by is that you're still going to like hate watch it or strongly dislike watch it, which I'm just like,
but I don't. That's the craziest thing is I don't hate watch it. I tune in every episode being like, okay, I'm going to try my best to like this one. I never ever hate watch Doctor Who.
That is the definition of insanity.
It is, and I don't even do it with Star Trek. If it wasn't for Eric's podcast, I would not be watching any of the new Star Treks. But I tune in every season, every episode for Doctor Who with a new slate. Like, okay, just give me something to latch onto here. And that's why every now and again I do find ones that I really like and will latch onto. And it makes me, maybe I'll cut this, but I don't know. I find myself in a really funny place on Eric's podcast because we do Doctor Who coverage. And most of them are pretty much like they hate the current era of new Doctor Who much more than I do. Because I hate the whole entirety of, or I dislike the whole entirety of New Who.
Strongly dislike.
And so I always feel like I need to be the moderate to point out the things that are good about this stuff.
Of course, yeah, that's fair.
And so here I am, the person who dislikes New Who the most, and I'm constantly defending it in front of them. Yeah, it's a very strange position to be in.
I'll be like that with Star Wars in 10 years.
That's funny.
For chance of being behind. That's another thing. Maybe my morals are a little bit askewed potentially, where I'm like, if I don't like something, I'm not gonna just continue to watch it. Like I just won't. I maybe I don't want to say I have standards, but like I'd rather do something else than that. Maybe that's an autistic thing where I'm just like, I just have a strict set of rules. Like it sounds like I'm very black and white. I'm trying not to be. I swear, I'm trying to understand gray areas and moral compromise and confusion there and all that stuff in the middle. But like, I don't know, just if I don't like something, I won't watch it. And so like, I guess Star Wars is a good example with all their, episodes. The reason I don't watch The Mandalorian is not because it's, would you say The Mandalorian serialized?
Mixed.
Season 1. Let's go with season 1, for instance.
That's another like mix of Doctor Who style of serialized television.
Okay.
Yeah, where it kind of bleeds up to its big conclusion, but it's episodic in between.
Okay, to end this, yeah, that's the debate on serialized versus episodic. I think it'll continue. I don't think we're done this topic. We're where we are right now. Here's where I'm at. I will look at. I'm a little more open to serialized because I was ignorant. I still think I am, and really didn't understand it, but have seen it before though. I have experienced serialized, so I can't not say I don't like it. It's just I think it depends on the tone and the intent and the agendas behind the scenes with a show, like a serialized show or a episodic show. Excuse me. So I have to be careful with I have to pick and choose which series I like and which series I don't like. But also be open to them.
Yeah, and of course, both mediums have their strengths, and both of them have fantastic examples of both. My only complaint is the fact that one is kind of just completely cannibalized the other.
Yeah, and it's oversaturated as well, eh?
Yeah, and I just wish that we would have more of a movement to kind of give us some more options in that regard. But I don't know, maybe in terms of streaming, maybe it just doesn't have the same place that it had on regular television. Because with shows like Star Trek, they could just be in syndication for years, and they could even have packages where they don't even have the complete library and they just play them in random order.
Yep.
You really couldn't do that with a serialized show. Like if they did something like that with Lost, I mean, that it would just be fucked up. No one would know what was going on.
Well, technically speaking, you could. If you were to do a serialized television show that was out of order, it'd probably most likely be a multiverse show.
That could work.
That's the only way I could. That's the only way I could see it, where you're playing with the formula. I assume probably Rick and Morty has done that. Although no, that's more serialized, or that's more episodic. Excuse me. I mean, I guess there is some serialized elements to it, but I don't even know. Maybe I'm just like getting the seasons wrong.
Yeah, and that falls into the crossover between, because I said you still get episodic with animated, and you still get them with comedies.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we're not talking about where just all animation in America is just sitcoms. That's all it is. Boring. I'm just kidding. That's biased. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I guess we should jump into some other animation here as we go forward.